Thank you, Martha. Thank you, Hillary. And thank you, Mark, for recording. Joe for helping out with some little technical stuff. And Nancy, I saw you helping out a little bit with the managing. I just love this about IMC, that there's just people who come together, right, out of their spirit of generosity to make this stuff happen. It's something beautiful, beautiful about this place. So I recently heard a teacher say, well, really, practice is just about noticing resistance. I thought, but wait, there's 5 factors of awakening, 7, blah, 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 all these lists, and how many suttas, and, how many Dharma talks have I given? How many Dharma talks has Gil Fronstal given? It cannot be that simple. Just to be with resistance, just to notice resistance, and to be with it, and in that way to transform our relationship with what's happening. But some of you might be familiar with this sutta, a really short one. That's the first sutta in the connected discourses, the Samyutta Nikaya. And it starts with somebody asking the Buddha, how did you cross the flood? How did you cross the flood? The Buddha, as many of you may know, lived in the Gangetic Plain in this region of India, which was prone to flooding. So this was like a legitimate concern. It's not like they had, beautiful bridges to cross things or ferry crossings everywhere. If there was a flood, you stayed on one side. You couldn't get to the other side. So we can understand this idea of flood in a number of different ways. One is maybe just this way we kind of feel like this overwhelm, like we're just getting carried away. Sadness, anger, maybe like fear. And this getting carried away in a way that we don't want to be carried away. So this person is asking, how do you cross the flood? How do you get to the other side where there aren't floods? Or maybe we understand this idea of flood as more of this existential angst that is more about just watching this old age, sickness, and death where we are all going. This direction that it's unavoidable, completely unavoidable. Aging happens. Illness, sickness happens. This could be part of this sense of this flood, wanting to get to the other side of that. The suttas, they describe these 4 types of floods. This clinging to sensual pleasures. This idea of clinging to becoming, it's like, okay, I have to be somebody. People have to see me a particular way. I'm the one that's funny. I'm the one that's kind. I'm the one that has a particular success in this region. I'm the one that has a particular failure in this region. I'm the one who fill in the blank. And we have to kind of make sure that everybody sees that and they don't see these things we don't want them to see. The shame, the embarrassment. Maybe we don't even know what it is we don't want people to see, but there's just a feeling like if people knew inside, then maybe I would be rejected in some painful way. So 4 floods. First is this commitment to sensual desire, just searching for pleasant experience after pleasant experience after pleasant experience. And if that worked, you would not be here on a Sunday morning. You would be out there having pleasant experiences. Not that it's not pleasant to be here. Makes me very happy, actually. Another one of these floods, kind of like classically, is views, holding on to particular ideas, doesn't matter which ones, but holding on in such a way that says, I'm right and you are wrong. I'm right and you're wrong. This is the only thing that's true, the one that I have. Everybody else, I don't know what you guys are doing, but it's wrong. There's this way, right, so we kind of get this. And then the fourth one is ignorance, of really not knowing what we don't know, not recognizing the delusions or illusions that we are under. So there's this way in which we can understand floods and classical ways as these four ones. And these four ones we might say are like these currents underneath that are maybe like pushing towards all the other dukkha that we experience in our life. They're like underneath this clinging to sensual pleasures or views, or this idea that I have to be some particular way and not be another particular way, or just not even knowing what we don't know. So somebody asks the Buddha, how did you cross the flood? And he replies, by not hurrying and not tarrying. Not hurrying and not tarrying. Tarrying is not a word in my vocabulary usually. I'll unpack it in a little bit, but I kind of like this kind of poetic feeling of this. So, hurrying, we all know this idea of hurrying. I know that when I'm late going somewhere and I'm in my car, there's often this subtle sense in my car of like, get out of my way. You know, like, don't you know that I have to be somewhere? I'm going to be late. And there's this like agitation. So hurrying is also like this sense of trying to outrun our experience, maybe. Like, okay, I need to be over there. Not here, not whatever's being experienced, but over there. It'll be better then and there. The sense of hurrying is this sense of, nope, wherever I am, whatever's happening is not okay. And this is in obvious ways, and it's also in really subtle ways in which, no, I need the next moment. In the next moment, there'll be more happiness. In the next moment, I'll have more ease. In the next moment, I won't be assaulted by these thoughts or this rumination that I find myself stuck in. In the next moment, I won't have this physical discomfort of my knee while I sit in meditation posture. Whatever it is, whatever it might be. Is this way that we're trying to manage our experience or fix it, or just try to get a better version of this moment? As if that were possible. It's not possible. This moment is this moment. It's just this moment. But somehow, and it's an amazing thing when I first kind of like discovered this, we have this idea like, oh, if I have some thoughts that are only my thoughts, they're only in my mind, completely made up, imaginary, somehow it's going to change what's out there. It doesn't change what's out there. What's out there is still out there. But somehow we have this idea, if I get irritated inside, or if I try to hold on to it, somehow it'll make the experience be different. It doesn't make the experience be different. It's just about, we're trying to, our relationship is, we're resisting. We're resisting the experience. So we could say that hurrying is the mind saying, how do I get somewhere better than here? And in meditation, this can look like trying to make the mind calm down when we feel restless. Or it can be trying to force some insight. Okay, I heard about meditation is good. We're the Insight Meditation Center. Where are the insights? Where I'm meditating, where are they? Or maybe this discomfort, trying to push and get rid of that in some kind of way. So the Buddha said he wasn't hurrying, he wasn't doing this, wasn't kind of trying to rush into the next moment, which we imagine is going to be better. But of course, right, the next moment, that one's not good enough either. We'll just go to the next one and the next one, the next one. Our whole life. You could spend your entire life. And many people do. Just waiting for the next moment to somehow finally be completely satisfying. So the Buddha said he wasn't hurrying, and he said he wasn't tarrying. So tarrying is to not dilly-dally, is to not just wait or just waste your time. And so it's not so much about leaning into the next moment, it's more about disconnecting from this moment. It's more about kind of like maybe collapsing or falling into fogginess or falling into some way in which we're not quite present. Not so much that it's thinking about a future moment, but the way that we're like maybe sinking or stalling or somehow not being fully present for what's happening. In one of my early meditation retreats, it was just a weekend retreat, and I showed up on this Friday afternoon, not having had enough sleep the previous few days, so kind of exhausted and tired. So, but I would go into the meditation hall, sit, meditate, and the bell would ring. It's supposed to be walking meditation. I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to go lie down for a little bit. I have 45 minutes, so maybe this 30-minute nap will perk me up. So I would go to my room, which I shared with quite a number of people, and I'd lay down on the bed, close my eyes, boom, I'd be asleep, and then I'd hear the bell for go to the sitting meditation, like, oh, okay, great. Get up, go to the hall, sit, meditate. I could be okay, stay upright. At the end of that sit, walking meditation, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. Go back to the room, lay down. 40 minutes later, the bell rings for the sitting. Oh, okay, get up, go to the hall. I did nothing but this for the entire weekend. I slept every single walking meditation. Amazing. A little bit of it was because I was sleep deprived, but a part of it was this, just now I can look back and understand. This was early in my practice. I didn't know what was happening. Just not wanting to be with experience. Just not wanting to be there. While I was on the cushion, I could be with the breath. That was kind of like a distraction. Or I could be with the body having difficulties, sitting for that long. And I just discovered that in my life there's these ways that I was disconnecting. Let's get on the internet and research this thing that's so important. Or, there's this way which, I don't know, maybe the internet or the phone. I wasn't so much into the phone back then, but there's so many ways, right, in which we can disconnect from our experience. And just having this exaggerated version on this retreat, really it saw how I was doing this so much in my life. And then there was the shame that came on top of it. I kind of feel like, we're in Silicon Valley. We should be going out there and doing things, getting things done, hop to it. This has definitely had to been kind of, my professional life, my academic life had been all about this. And then to discover, here I was just disconnecting and checking out. So this is what that Buddha was talking about, not tarrying, is like not checking out. It's not this, not spacing out. So there's these two ways in which we might be perpetually not meeting our experience, hurrying and tarrying. There's two different ways in which we might say, resistance to what's actually happening. And so there's a third option between hurrying and tarrying. Allowing. Can we just allow what's happening to be what's happening? After all, it is happening. It's already there. I mean, it's the reality of the moment. Can we align with the reality of the moment and yep, this is what's happening, even if it's not what you want? Because most of the time it's not what we want. We want some better version in which we feel comfortable and satisfied and clear and happy all the time. Of course we do. But that's often not what life is bringing us. And we know this, intellectually, right? The Buddha is talking about this, the first noble truth. There is dukkha. He's pointing to the big obvious ones as well as this small subtle sense of something's not quite right. Maybe the next moment will be better. Oh, that one wasn't quite right either. Maybe the next one. Okay, now I'm going to try to control things to make sure that I feel better. And if you could control things, you also would not be here on a Sunday morning at IMC. You would have controlled everything so that you feel very happy. And everybody around you is doing exactly what they should be doing, right? We don't control nearly what we think we do. Doesn't stop us from trying. And this trying to control is just its own sense of dukkha because it never works. It doesn't work in the way that we want it to. So, allowing. It's not passivity. It's not approval. It's not liking. It's not resignation. It's just saying, yes, this is what's happening right now. It's not resistance. Yes, this is what's happening right now. Yes, I don't like it. Yes, I wish it were otherwise. Yes, this is unfortunate. This morning I went for a walk. With the time change, there was, it was earlier, and it was fantastic to hear all the little birds. I didn't realize how many birds were in the neighborhood, and especially when the sun is coming up. It's like, oh my goodness, it just made my heart sing to just hear all of these little birds. And then I noticed, okay, Diana, make sure that you wake up at this time every day, and you can go for a walk to this other place where maybe there's more birds, and then, right? Even when it was beautiful and just really uplifting, there's this sense okay, it's not quite good enough because I need to have more of it. Tomorrow I need to have it again, So allowing is, can we just allow what's happening to be here? Can we let this moment be known? Can we let this moment be experienced more fully? Because often what's happening is it doesn't quite meet our expectations this moment. It doesn't quite make us happy. And there's this way we just bounce right off and get lost in distractions or check out. We hurry or tarry. So we don't even completely experience it. It's just this bouncing off. And I've just watched this mind do this so much, of how we don't actually even fully meet the experience. We're so busy trying to find something better. And so this allowing is, can we just even meet the experience, know it as best we can? I'm not saying that we have to dive deeply into the most terrible things and this flood of memories that's associated with it and stuff like that. I'm talking about, can we just meet the sensations? This moment right now, can you feel into the experience of the chair or the cushion, the pressure against your body? Just feel into or notice the voice my voice coming through the speakers. Just notice that there's lots of sounds in the room. There's lots of sights happening. Maybe there's emotions. Maybe there's boredom. Maybe there's irritation. Maybe there's some simple ease. Maybe it's not even clear if there's any emotion happening right now. This is what I'm pointing to. Can we just be with this experience? Can we allow the experience? The experiences also include lots of thoughts. That's a little bit trickier to turn towards thoughts because more often we get lost in the content of the thoughts. And that's often versions of the hurrying and tarrying. We can be with the experience of thinking, not the content of the thoughts, but the experience of thinking. For example, just noticing, are the thoughts, are they images? Is it a voice? Where are those images? Whose voice? Just to notice the experience of thinking. So allowing allows us to meet the moment a little bit more completely, a bit more fully. This does not mean negating what's painful or difficult. We are not gaslighting ourselves and pretending like everything's fine. When we actually we might feel awful. We might feel angry. We might be in a lot of physical discomfort. We are not denying this. We're just saying right now there's a lot of physical discomfort. And the physical discomfort, whether it's minor or really terrible, awful, one moment at a time is just one moment at a time. But what makes physical discomfort become really unbearable is when we sprinkle in this idea of time. Right now it feels like this. Ouch. Oh my gosh, I hope it's not going to be like this forever. I hope it's not going to be like this tomorrow. Oh my gosh, I don't know how much longer I can handle this. It's been like this for so long. Is it really going to stay longer? So as soon as we add time, which is just happening in the mind, time isn't a sensation, it's just a mental thing. As soon as we add the element of time to this physical discomfort, then it starts to become unbearable. But can we just allow this moment as physical discomfort? Notice how we want to rush to the future, the hurrying part that the Buddha was talking about. And when we do, it makes things even more uncomfortable. So allowing as best we can. Because allowing includes I can't meet this moment. Well, can you allow that you can't meet the moment? Allow that there's this sense of resistance. Resistance feels like this. It feels like this internal no. Maybe there's this tightness in the chest, or there's this the belly kind of getting tight too, or a sense of armoring or bracing, this way in which we're saying, no, I don't want to be with this moment, dang it. Can we allow that? Can we allow the no? So letting irritation to be felt, letting grief be felt, letting fear be felt, letting restlessness be felt, letting pleasure, happiness, joy be felt. So permitting just both the unpleasant and the pleasant things that we are familiar with, things that we are unfamiliar with, can we allow this experience? Not hurrying and not tarrying, but to be open to what's occurring. And when we do this, whether the experience is pleasant or unpleasant, we notice there can be a flicker, a slight, maybe subtle sense of a little bit of delight of when we put down the burden of trying to change the present moment experience. This may not be your dominant experience. It's like, wahoo, I get to be with this discomfort. But there is this way in which we kind of finally like, okay, yeah, it's like this. Ick. It's like this. There's a way, that slight little, like putting down the resistance and that little uplift that happens, this changes things. This creates a new ecology of the mind. This, when we put down the resistance, makes room finally for something new to arise, for something different to arise, instead of just pushing no, 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 no. When there can be a yes, then there can be a blossoming and unfolding of what's going to be next. So here's a poem that points to this. I like this poem. I've read it on a number of different occasions. Those of you who come on Monday nights and hear my Monday night talks know that I have this poet that I quote all the time, Rosemary Traumer. And this poem is called Strange Balance by Rosemary Traumer. Strange Balance by Rosemary Traumer. When the boy is sneering, or the glass is breaking, or the woman is weeping, or the streets are crowded with anger and rage, it's hard to believe a small joy has any real value. Hard to believe a single red Gerber daisy or a cup of grapefruit scented tea might have any relevance. Could bear any weight on the scale that measures what it is to be alive. But last night, while I was steeping in worry, aching with injustice, my daughter created a stage between the threadbare couches and hummed herself a soundtrack. As she leapt and spun and shuffled and flapped, and oh, how her brief flare of joy changed the flavor of the night. An improbable balance. The way even the smallest amount of sugar transforms the bitter sauce. The way just one note resolves a minor chord. The way the barest hint of rain makes the whole desert erupt into bloom. An improbable balance, the way even the smallest amount of sugar transforms the bitter sauce. The way just one note resolves a minor chord. The way the barest hint of rain makes the whole desert erupt into bloom. So how do we cross the flood? By meeting the difficulties of the flood as best we can, with the least amount of resistance, with allowing. Instead of meeting our experiences with disdain or dismissal or disapproval, we meet them with presence as best we can. And if we do find ourselves meeting them with disdain and dismissal and disapproval, then can we allow the disdain, disapproval, dismissiveness, because that's what's happening. So it's not like pretending everything's fine. It's not like denying our experience. It's just being present for our experience, whatever it might be. It's this honest meeting of experience that transforms it. And so somebody asked the Buddha, how did you cross the flood? And he said, by not hurrying and not tarrying. And then this person said, yeah, but how did you not hurry and not tarry? Right, this is a legitimate question. It sounds good. How did you do it? And the Buddha replies, when I hurried, I was swept away. When I tarried, I sank. trial and error. Just good old-fashioned, he tried to hurry through and realized it wasn't helpful. He tried to tarry and realized that wasn't helpful either. Instead, he got swept away and he sank. There's so many different ways in which we can do this hurrying or this tarrying. And the Buddha was doing it too. But he found a way. But the only way that he could find a way is by actually doing it. Instead of memorizing all the lists and all the suttas and thinking like, okay, that's enough. And I'm a person who loves these lists. I know very many lists. I study suttas, I teach suttas, I know Pali, I study Pali, I know all this stuff. But there's something about just being with our experience and not demanding that it be different that's transformative, no matter how much we know about practice or how much we don't know about practice. Other things are helpful. I'm not saying that the lists don't have a place or can't be supportive. But it's a trap if we think that it's just about memorizing all the lists, right? We wouldn't sit in silence if it was just about what you knew. We wouldn't go on meditation retreats if it was just about what you knew. It's about experiencing, learning how to be with what's uncomfortable as best we can. As best we can. The practice is not asking us to be somebody we're not. It's not asking us to endure these terrible things that shouldn't be endured. Instead, we're just meeting to our experience. And this idea of trial and error, is this idea, can we be with our experience with a spirit or with an attitude of some curiosity? With some openness as best we can. What's happening right now? What is this experience? Instead of, and I learned this the hard way, on a long retreat, I knew this idea of allowing, and I knew this idea of trying to meet experience. I was trying to meet experience, dang it, and it wasn't working, dang it. I was kind of expecting everything to be fine afterwards. And I reported this to Joseph Goldstein, who was my teacher at the time, and he introduced me to this idea of like, oh, you have that if-only mind, or no, if only, let's see, if only is one also, but it's, in order to mind. Okay, I'm going to allow this in order to make it go away. I'm going to allow this in order to make it be different. I'm going to allow this in order to X, Y, and Z. And there's this way we can just subtly, have this agenda, have this way in which we're doing this allowing because we want the next moment to be different. It's just a more sophisticated version of this hurrying, right? So instead, can we meet this moment with some curiosity, with some openness, as best we can? It's not easy, right? If something's uncomfortable to say, ouch, yowza, ick. It's not easy to stay open to that. And this often meditation practice can help us with that, this way in which with meditation we see the mind drifting away and then it comes back to the anchor. For many of us, that's the breath. Just this movement of like, oh yeah, I'm lost in thought, I'll come back. It's the same movement to allow. We notice that the mind wants to it wants to just jump off the moment. We notice, can we just come back to the moment? Or actually the moment's now over here. Can we just kind of come to the moment there? So there's this way, if we can allow with some curiosity and some openness, it creates the conditions in which we can learn from these experiences. Often we can't learn from them. We're just so busy pushing them away or bouncing off of them. But there's We can learn about ourselves. We can learn about what are the usual ways that we respond when we're uncomfortable. Often there's blaming. Are we blaming ourselves or are we blaming others? Some people have a preference for one or the other, blaming themselves or blaming others. Or maybe there's anger. Maybe there's anger at the world or anger at ourselves, or maybe we don't even know, it's just this anger when things are uncomfortable. So if we can allow with any amount of openness, then we can start to see the patterns in which we're showing up in the world. And when we see these patterns, then maybe there's a way in which the authority of them can start to diminish. Patterns have momentum behind them. They are not going to just stop the first time we see them. But it creates the conditions in which something different can arise, in which something new can arise. It also, this idea of allowing, it interrupts the momentum of some mental events, some mental ruminations we might have. To meet something with openness is a way that's kind of like just being here. It's instead of just lost in whatever the mind is doing. And this interrupting the momentum of the thoughts, because the thoughts very often are taking us into doomsville or completely disconnected from reality in some kind of way. So this allowing helps us to learn about ourselves. It helps us to interrupt the momentum of whatever the mind is cooking up and helps bring us back here. And this increases our capacity to stay balanced with whatever life is bringing us. And this idea of bringing balanced leads to equanimity. This allowing is like a beginning that moves into, maybe matures into equanimity. This evenness, this balance, like no matter what life is bringing you. And those of you who know these Buddhist lists, you'll know that equanimity is always the last member of a list. If it's in a list, it's always the last one. It's always the last one because it's the one that's right before freedom. It's the one that's right before peace and ease and all that we're looking for. Equanimity is right before. Not hurrying, not tarrying, but instead allowing. And allowing helps increase our capacity to be with what is, to meet each moment fully, to learn about ourselves, which helps create the conditions in which equanimity can arise. This radical contentment, even though things are uncomfortable and not exactly what you want, but there's some equanimity, and equanimity leads to greater freedom, some peace and ease. So just like in this poem, this idea that even a hint of rain allows the whole desert to bloom, this allowing creates the conditions in which we can be more freedom, more peace, more ease. So when this teacher said to me, it's just about resistance and noticing resistance, and I thought, surely it's, really? It can't be like that. You mean I did all this practice just to think it was about resistance? In some ways we could think of it like that. Just notice all the ways in your life, in meditation life, personal life, professional life, in which we are quietly or not so quietly saying no to our experience. I'm talking about experience here. Emotions, sensations, sounds, thoughts. Just noticing this, noticing how no often has this contracted feeling, whereas this openness, allowing has more of this open feeling. And you'll find, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, you know this, that when we put down the trying to change things that we can't change just by thinking, there's this gentle sense of relief, like a burden that's been put down. And more ease. From more ease, we make different decisions than when we're agitated, than when we're trying to make something happen, dang it. We make different decisions, and those different decisions most likely will support more ease. I don't know how many times I've said it in this talk, but by not hurrying and not tarrying, I like this phrase, is a way in which can lead to greater peace, ease, and freedom, a way in which we can cross the flood, whether it's the flood of minor annoyances or the floods of those deep currents that underlie the dukkha in our lives. So my wish for you is, may you all find a way in which there can be some allowing, in whatever way is available for you. Some allowing that's with the experience that's met with some openness and ease that allows for greater peace, allows for greater freedom in your life. And may this greater ease and peace and freedom spread from you to others. The world needs this. The world needs some peace and ease and freedom. And why not start with us? Why not start with us? Thank you.